first thing that everybody does when they wake up in the morning? For me, it's press the snooze button. Now let's think about the teenagers that we all know. Many of them may be pressing the snooze button to start their day just out of necessity, not necessarily by choice. My name is Luke Stodeker, and I'm here to discuss with you all today why we should be moving school start times back to later in the day. We'll be discussing the negative impacts of early school start times. We'll also be discussing the positive effects of later school start times. And then I'll ask you all to envision a world where school start times are already later and see the better world it could be. So let's start by discussing some of the negative impacts of early school start times. The negative impacts of early school start times are that we are limiting our students' ability to maximize their educational experience. We're also increasing their risk for drowsy driving. And finally, we're impairing our students' emotional health. So we start by looking at an article that Julie Borgers wrote in January of 2015 for the Brown University Child and Adolescent Behavior Letter, where she stated that adolescents currently require between 8.5 and 9.5 hours of sleep. We've also seen from the National Sleep Foundation that only 14% of adolescents are hitting this goal, and 70% of them are reporting that they're receiving less than 8 hours of sleep on a standard weeknight. So we see that adolescents are not getting enough sleep, and this is impacting their educational experience. Starting School Later is an organization that advocates for later school start times, and they tell us that kids who are tired can't learn their best, and sleep deprivation impairs learning, memory, and attention span. Impairing any of those items would make it more difficult to learn and make it harder on kids to be successful in school. So not only are we impacting kids' educational experiences, we're also impacting their safety by putting them at risk for drowsy driving. According to the National Sleep Foundation, young people who do not get enough sleep night after night are at a significant risk for drowsy driving, and studies show that drowsy driving can be as dangerous as driving drunk. So an additional impact affecting our students is their emotional health. The National Sleep Foundation has told us that young people who do not get enough sleep carry a significant risk for emotional and behavioral problems such as irritability, depression, poor impulse control, as well as violence. Now that we've discussed some of the negative impacts of early school start times, let's shift our focus to the positive effects of later school start times. The benefits of later school start times are that there will be better attendance rates, there will also be a decrease in automobile accidents, and we'll also see fewer emotional health issues for our students. Again, from Julie Borgers in January of 2015 in her University Child and Adolescent Behavior Letter from Brown University, I apologize. Lower dropout rates and fewer absences and tardies are affected by school starting later. Now, better attendance can increase academic performance alone. And another positive impact of later school start times is fewer automobile accidents. So John Klein in an article from Psychology Today told us about a study that was done in the 1990s from a Kentucky school district. They moved their start time from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., so moved it back by an hour. What they found is that there was a decrease in automobile accidents for individuals who are 16 to 18 years old in that school district. The final positive effect is that we'll see fewer emotional health issues by moving school start times to later. According to Start School Later, sleep deprivation impacts include depression, anxiety, substance abuse, mood swings, behavioral problems, and suicidal ideation. Our teenagers already have a hard enough time making it through high school. Why add this additional stress to them? So we can now see some of the positive impacts of moving our school start times later. I ask you all to open your minds and envision a world where these changes have been enacted. Think about that first hour of class. Kids currently, they're coming in, putting their heads down on their desk, hardly paying attention. Imagine those classroom conversations actually being active and people being engaged and being a part of those. Isn't that what we want for our children? Let's also think about the aspect of having safer roads. We all hate getting stuck in traffic, and one of the biggest causes of traffic delays are accidents. So if we have fewer drowsy drivers on the road, we may see fewer auto accidents and have a smoother commute to work. So many of us have also had an irritable teen come down in the morning to, let's say, get breakfast, and they kind of give you this grunt. Imagine them actually being awake and saying thank you. Wouldn't that be a better start to your day as well? Also, finally, moving school start times back is really just fitting student schedules to their body clocks. Teenagers naturally go to bed later and wake up later. So this is just fitting a square peg in a square hole. So we've now envisioned a little bit of what this world would look like with later school start times. And today we have seen some of the negative effects of, of early school start times, some of the positive impacts of later school start times, and finally we again took a look at the world around us if we had later school start times, and we can see that that would be a better world. Few of us can make this happen overnight. We must start by creating, creating awareness and demanding for a change that just simply makes sense. First, we need to contact our local superintendent and advocate for the teenagers who may not be able to advocate for themselves. And we need to demand and start the path to fewer snooze buttons, safer roads, and healthier and more productive teenagers. Thank you.